off of highlight. This view. Oh, look, we're live. What is up, boy?
Hey, buddy. It's good to see you again. I haven't talked to you in so long. It's been too long, man.
You've been so busy packing and signing books, man. Damn.
Yeah, and breaking ribs, and then recovering from that.
you broke your ribs?
I broke 3 ribs right before I started shipping stuff out. It was really fun.
Okay, so how did the ribs get broken? How did that happen?
I pulled too hard on something while I was fixing a car. Like I did one of those all my might pulls, and something snapped, crackled, and popped, and it was me. It was my side. I thought I had just pulled muscles, so like I finished what I was doing, but I was like, yeah, this kind of hurts a little bit. And then before I knew it, I was like sweating, felt like I couldn't bend over, felt like it was hard to breathe. That's broken ribs.
Yeah, I haven't had a broken rib since I was a young man, like really, really, really young. And I don't know how broken it was. I mean, I know that it was like fractured because like anytime I breathed in, it ached like severely.
Yeah.
Like, and then if I twisted or something, it hurt really bad. So
that's a good sign.
Yeah, it was definitely ribs. I don't know how broken they were. I don't know if they were broken or just fractured or you know what I mean or what. But yeah, they hurt. Yeah, they hurt.
And all you can do is wait till they heal. I mean, that's it. There's nothing they can really. I mean, they'll prescribe you heroin, but other than that, these days they can't really do anything else. They just send you home.
It's actually better than heroin. They call it's fentanyl.
Ooh, that stuff's deadly.
They will give you prescriptions for that shit to take home.
Wonderful.
Which seems
to me, if you have broken ribs, you do need some heavy grade shit. That's a fact. I mean, you're going to be in some of the worst pain of your life. Yeah. It's bad.
It really does. It sucks. I mean,
anyway.
But it is something. I mean, like any other pain, there is. It's not like it's. I mean, I've had some severe pains, and I've been burned alive. That fucking sucks, man.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What the hell happened to you?
Oh well. Seriously, I was.
Maybe we shouldn't drudge it up that.
It's not that big. I mean,
okay. It's not like Dark Man.
No.
Or like okay.
Well, sort of, but no.
You just on fire, flying out of a window and into the swamp and becoming a swamp Drew.
I was building a fire and I used gasoline as a primer, and that gasoline came back onto me and lit me up. Yeah, third degree burns over 27% of my body, and
damn, dude.
Yeah, 3 surgeries. Yeah, at least hospital. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, man. Sorry, guys. Sorry I had some issues.
No worries. We got a little coming from you.
Right on. Hey, Vaughn.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Good.
I'm getting an echo. Anyone else?
Yeah. We're going to echo from Chris.
Stand by.
Thanks, Chris. Oh, man. Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here with us, Drew. That's an intense, horrifying. That's horror, man.
Yeah,
you survived.
Yeah, it was. You know what I mean? But it's like one of those things that you learn to accept pretty quick because you have no control over it. So it's just,
right.
It just is what it is, kind of thing. Because I mean, the worst part about it was like the stuff that you don't think about. Sure, being burned really, really sucks. But what sucks worse than being burned? What they call debriding, where they actually scrub your skin. You know what I mean? And they take the skin that then needs to like be scrubbed off so that it heals. You know what I mean? Like all
right.
Yeah, they did that twice a day, for like the first 2 weeks. That was pretty unbearable. Let me just tell you. Yeah, I had my stepdad go get me a football mouthpiece. So I could put that in my mouth while I was doing it and just bite down as hard as I could because it hurt so severely. I mean, it was hell, literally.
Damn.
It was.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a fun story. So
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. The horrors of being burned alive, or the horrors of being put on a blacklist. We can talk about that.
Hello. Am I echoing still, guys?
no, you're
So
good.
good.
We're good now.
Little
Right.
thing called echo cancellation. Sorry for the noob. I switched up with my video production stuff. I'm using a nice DSLR camera. I was really looking forward to showing it off, and I have not tested it on StreamYard. So StreamYard is not recognizing my crap. But it's okay. We're all avatars today, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
might as well be. It's not like we have to, show our pretty faces. We're not trying to pitch a comic today. You know what I mean?
True that. Yeah, that's good. We probably don't want to show our faces.
Hey, my face.
Yeah, no doubt.
You're kind of incognito, Drew.
Yeah.
This is my face. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay.
That's how I interview.
I'll
Covered in
accept
blood, speckled.
Yeah. So for everybody who's not aware, Vaughn has Monster MD, and Monster MD is fulfilling. It's a book that's been long awaited and much anticipated, and it is exciting because I know I'm getting mine. I got my shipping notice, so.
It looks great,
yeah.
Vaughn. It looks
Thanks,
great.
bud.
Yeah,
Appreciate
it. Sure.
It took a while, guys. It really did, but this was a huge team effort, and we made tons of content, and I think people are going to be really happy once they get their hands on it. I mean, so far, everyone says, oh my God, it was worth the wait. 144-page main book and like 70-something page sketchbook and a bonus book. You get a bonus comic that's a crossover with Shinobi Sasquatch. It's a lot. You get a lot of fun in that. Even if you just get the basic book. So, Thank you guys for your support and your patience as I get this out. I'm really proud of it. But I'm sure I'm on a list that's very black now because of it, or at least I want to be. I probably am not. No one knows me yet, but.
Well, here's the beauty of that, right? If you're not trying to get a job in the main industry, if you're not trying to fucking be an illustrator or writer for DC or Marvel or, you know what I mean? It doesn't fucking matter. It's irrelevant to you. I mean, it's irrelevant to me. I wouldn't, they would have to offer me more money than they offer the average fucking dude who works at that shit for me to take one of those jobs just because I know the bullshit that's involved.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's nothing that they could offer me that would interest me,
Yeah, what about
entertainment's so sterilized now?
What about hookers and coke?
Well, that's like maybe like at the start, but then I'll take a meeting. I'll take a meeting with them then.
I don't think any Marvel creators can afford hookers and coke right now.
They probably are hookers.
Hello.
For coke.
Oops. Penny hasn't told me anything about that. She has never mentioned anything about that.
Okay. So, so what we're talking about is this article here.
Yeah.
And this article is on the website bleedingfool.com. I'll post a link in the chat to the actual article for anybody who wants to follow along. Basically, this is a website that is maintained, managed, flowed, produced, marketed by the great Chris Brawley here, who is our guest today. And this is kind of a follow-up to the Whisper Network article that he put out before. Do we want to quickly breeze over what that is for anybody who has no idea, since we are broadcasting on Facebook and Twitter and simultaneously?
Yeah, sure. I'll set the table. Basically, last summer, Penny Parker, who is not necessarily a luminary, but she works in the comic industry, kept being around other women in the comics industry that were just being vindictive. She noticed this. She kind of was friends with some of them, co-workers and so on, and eventually was invited sort of into the inner circle, if you will, if you'll allow me to be hyperbolic. And she was invited to a Facebook group, a hidden secret Facebook group, not one you can find. You actually have to be a member of it to see it. You can't even see it if you're not a member of it. So you have to be invited. You have to be approved by two admins. And several other women that many comic book fans probably have heard of are in this group, or were. This group has since been shut down. Once we exposed it, it was gone. That was it. They pulled up stakes and took off and went to Discord for a while.
Like a coven in the night.
It was crazy.
Exactly.
It was crazy how fast they pulled up stakes.
Oh,
And
that's
there's
crazy.
people like Gail Simone in there, and other comic creators, and also comic book media types, including Heidi McDonald from Comics Beat. So, and they were speaking freely. And Penny, which is not her real name, obviously, if you Google Penny Parker, you'll discover why she chose that name. And Penny just decided, I'm going to out these gals because of the way they were treating some of her friends who were men in the comics industry, such as making accusations, basically playing cutthroat, really, to get their jobs, get them fired, get them harassed, and so on. And, you know, they used Comics Gate as sort of a bludgeoning tool because they were able to spin up the media to treat it like the last, you know, Gamergate, Sad Puppies, whatever, you know, was wrongfully had scorn heaped upon it, or alt-right, or whatever.
Right, know. And they dropped a lot of unprovable negatives.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, so what Penny did was she said, okay, I'm going to screen grab a bunch of this stuff. And so she did. So, and what's neat about Penny's writing style is she sort of just kind of warms you up and relaxes you, and you're kind of going along, going, okay, where's this going, right? And that's the way all of her articles have kind of been written, and it happens to me too, which is why I notice it. That I'm like, okay, well, has this got the juice? And sometimes it hasn't, and I've said we need to dig a little bit more. But we got as much as we got out of this one. At first, I wasn't all that impressed with this one until she started, you know, naming the names and backing up the Campy clause and things like that. So to me, it was a kind of a nice payoff, because the second Whisper Network she talked about, another member of the Whisper Network who was who actually was the assistant to Bill Willingham, and it had never been mentioned by anyone in the media, but Bill Willingham. Actually, it had been mentioned one time, and it was kind of buried. You had to go find it on Bleeding Cool. It had been erased from the top 20 articles. I mean, it's really detailed, but get to Penny, click her name. It'll show you the articles that she's written. And she has just basically been our undercover comic industry insider. She has worked on, I can tell you that she's got connections with DC and Marvel. I started to say some books she's worked on. I'm not going to do that. I don't, there's not that many women working in comics, so it wouldn't be too hard to figure out who it might be. Yeah. But I'll leave it at that. Her husband is in the industry, or her better half, and so she's digging, she's scratching around, she's finding stuff. And I think the point of it is not necessarily to sort of tit for tat and get these people back, but really it's one of those things where it's these things that are done in the dark should be brought into the light. And when these things that are being brought into the light, they're disinfected, right?
Right.
Yeah. And my biggest issue with this last article, this is there's 2 blacklists. And it's on the front page. You can find it. As a matter of fact, the headline running across the very, very top, there's like a ticker tape scroll. That will be, as soon as you go to any page, the very first ticker tape. Yeah, that's the name of the comic industry. No longer has a blacklist. It actually has 2. And so what she does is she goes down and talks about how there's a blacklist. You're on there if you voted for Trump. You're on there if you're a conservative. You're on there if you're a Christian. You're on there, yada, yada, yada. Or you just have wrong opinions. Maybe you want to keep Conan with all the toxic masculinity he's known for, right? And not make him a pansy. Maybe you don't think you should wear masks when you're taking a jog by yourself or whatever. So you're on that list. Well, the second list that she finally gets around to is she says that these people, particularly people like Alex DeCampi, according to Sam, are very litigious, maybe, or at least they kind of bully people. And it had gotten so bad with people like Heather Anto, Chuck Wendig, and others back when they were still with Marvel, that people started saying, you know what, we're going to have to update my agreement with this publisher because I don't want to be around those people. I'm worried that they're going to try to make some accusation against me. And I would like you to update our agreement so that I don't have to work with that person. I don't have to be on a project with that person. I don't even have to be at a convention with that person. I don't even have to stay in the same hotel room as that person. And some of these things were like, I can't believe it's really that bad. But it's got to have been super bad if they ever even said, I want to talk to HR about upgrading my agreement. I mean, how bad and how long must it have gone on? So these people, apparently, according to Sam and Penny, were very, very toxic. And, we know that looking at their Twitter post and the way that they troll fans and always trying to, I don't know, the Ryan Johnson school of subverting expectations. There's always this, for many, many years lately, there has been this constant deconstruction of superhero comics. And, Alan Moore probably started that trend, but that trend is over. No, I don't think people want you to deconstruct. They want you to reconstruct or just construct something new. Like what you guys have been doing with your own projects. To me, that's the most exciting development. We've got these comic book dissidents that have been fighting these social terrorists, and they finally it's not necessarily taking their ball and going home, but they're saying, look, if you don't want to play with me and my cool ideas, we'll just go do it elsewhere and rake in.
That's the era we're in now. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Can do it. Yeah.
It's a simple thing. I mean, it's like, it's if you're going to make it to where it's not even worth being in the mainstream comic industry because the pay isn't any good and you're going to be attacked by just like, it's like if you're going to deal with that, you might as well just do everything yourself. You know what I mean? And so I mean, that's what you got now. You got a bunch of self-publishing, people, and it's like next level indie. It's a whole new indie wave. There were books like this, 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's actually beautiful. It's really a golden age because we're kind of making our own rules. And when we do, and I say that as a co-conspirator in the indie comics, crowdfunding comics. Vaughn was saying earlier how he's fulfilling this week. Well, our letterer just turned in the final approved, gone through twice pages, and now we're ready to go to print, and we'll begin fulfilling in a few weeks. Yeah, very excited about that. But we make mistakes too. I mean, this is sort of we're all kind of seat of our pants. We don't have Disney money and actuaries running the books every day and keeping everything in order, production management and things like that.
Comics aren't our loss leader, right?
Right. For them, it is, and that's why they can just basically shit on it. They don't care. And that was another interesting thing about this article is how Penny. It might have been sort of the buried lead, but the idea was let's juice up Iron Man by hiring a well-known feminist to write Iron Man. And it wasn't because Iron Man needs some refreshment. Let's get somebody who really loves Iron Man and wants to get into Tony Stark and celebrate Iron Man. I mean, Iron Man's the leader of the MCU, in my mind, right? Captain America maybe, but he's kind of Boy Scoutish. Really, the most conflicted, realistic character, and he's somebody with no superpowers. I mean, he's got a super set of armor, but we can all identify with Iron Man.
Yeah, Iron Man is like the high-tech sci-fi version of Batman.
Yeah, precisely.
He's the billionaire philanthropist who, exactly.
Yeah, but he also entertains and indulges himself much like the everyman would, right? The chicks, the booze, the drugs, whatever. And of course, but he's battling his personal demons. I don't want to get too far in the weeds with that, but here they are taking the central spearhead of the MCU and handing it to someone like Alex DeCampi. What?
Well, they weren't doing it for a fresh take. They weren't even pitched anything, which is how it usually works. I mean, before they're going to run your idea,
it was
pitch it to the the big guys.
It's a press release. We'll get some press out of this, just like when they turned Thor into a woman. And I don't know, I'm not a big fan of Rob Liefeld. He actually has Bleeding Full blocked on his Twitter, but I do listen to his podcast, and I was listening to his most recent episode, and he's talking about the What If comics. And, Rob and I are the same age, and I grew up loving the What If comics. I didn't subscribe, but anytime I would see one on the rack, I had to see if it was one that I wanted to read. 9 times out of 10,
I like those.
Yeah. And he was saying that if you'll look, here's What If number 13, Conan in the modern era. Well, now Conan's in Savage Avengers. Here's number 10, and it's What If Thor was a woman? And of course now we have, and so on and so on. So it's almost like they weren't necessarily running out of ideas, but all these what if ideas are now canonical in Marvel, right?
That's something else.
Yeah, which is interesting, and I mean we could go off on that, but in my mind, it's sort of like they're running out of ideas. But why can't somebody just say, "I want to celebrate Iron Man. I've got some neat ideas, and here's what they are, and let's run with it." And they'll go, "Okay." And I imagine maybe that's what Dan Slott did. I don't care for Dan Slott as a person either, but depending on what he's writing, he's very good. He can be. I loved his She-Hulk run. Yeah. I have not read his Iron Man run, and Spider-Man. I don't know.
The thing that I loved about this article was Alex DeCampi was a name I knew, but only under the shade of like she scares people, even her own, and yet she seemed to be talked about as if she was some hot shit writer, right? And that she was some sort of badass, and yet I never saw work coming out from her from Marvel or DC, and I was like, if she seems like the most Puritan SJW out there. Yeah. Like outspoken, vicious, whatever, hardcore boot stomping activist. And yet, why doesn't she get work like all the other ones are?
Yeah.
And now in this article revealed why, because she scares even them. She's burnt her bridges behind the scenes with them.
Yeah, even the ones who agree with her politically.
Right.
Yeah. So she's gotten that dangerous, or at least in their mind. I don't know how dangerous she is. I don't know the woman personally, and I can only vouch for what I can vouch for that Penny's told and shared. But it's interesting. Whatever Penny said in this article, there were people that retaliated against Bleeding Full. We were attacked Saturday morning around 7 a.m. with DDoS attacks. The website was literally throttled down to maybe, 10, 15, 20 people at a time could get on the website. It was throttled so bad. And it wasn't traffic because the first Penny article, we weren't ready for it traffic-wise. I mean, it blew up and went viral. So I wound up upgrading the site so we could handle big traffic. Well, then when I called my tech guy Saturday morning, I said, "What is going on here?" And, he said, "Well, it could be this, could be that." And I said, "Well, it's definitely not traffic," because I can look at how much traffic's on the website at once. And I said, "We can handle the traffic. This is something else." And it turns out it was a DDoS attack from about 4 locations. And I don't know if that was just some white knight simps.
Yeah.
Or if it was like somebody called the dogs out, right? You got to stop this article or something. I don't know. I don't have a clue. They don't tell us that, but we did get it worked out, and the website's fully engaged again. But enough that, what you mentioned, Vaughn, that you had heard all these great things about her. Well, part of the reason you've heard the great things about her is Uncle Rich from Bleeding Cool praises her. Like she's the second coming of I don't know who I can compare her to. Flo? I mean, Louise Simonson, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
And
crazy.
She's got nothing to show for it. And that was the thing. I think the reason that the DeCampi stuff also came out was Penny was stunned. She DM'd me a couple of months ago, or maybe it was 4 or 5 weeks ago, when DeCampi's got a crowdfund herself. And it's alluded to in this article, and people were complaining that it was late or whatever, and she was like, and DeCampi's comments back to her own backers were so insulting and smug that Penny was like, "Can you believe this bitch is saying this?" And I'm like, "Really?" And so she showed me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Whenever I've got a backer that's complaining that we're late or whatever, I'm just like, "Man, hey, thanks for your patience.
We'll get it as soon as we can.
Yeah. Hey, listen, if you insist on a refund, I'll do it. Whatever. You don't want the product. I don't want to force you to take product. You know what I mean? But literally, I try to save any person who's complaining. We've had about, I'm working on Florida Man with Mike Barron and D-Hand or M-Hand. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the old Marvel bullpen, but if you ever see the name M-Hand or D-Hand in the credits, that means many hands or diverse hands, meaning a bunch of people worked on it. We've got 4 interior artists on this book because we were so far behind, and there were things that needed to be repaired with the script, with the way the script was or wasn't adhered to, and so on. I mean, I don't want to.
It was a mess. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
So, but we've had people that have asked, right? And I've had at least 3 refunds, which isn't bad. I don't know how bad refunds can get.
Yeah, they can get pretty bad. 3 isn't that bad at all.
Okay, well, I feel good about it, and I don't mind that. Like I said, if somebody insists, I do not want this now that this has happened. Okay, I mean, I haven't spent your money yet, so here it is, right?
Yep.
So that's not a big deal. But I talked one guy out of it, which was a good feeling. So. She was treating hers like they were scum of the earth. How dare they make a complaint? How dare they complain that they're not getting this or that? How dare they complain that it's late? It was really surprising. And so I think that kind of triggered conversations. And Penny had some conversations with her contacts. And then I think that's how the genesis of her conversation with Sam was. Well, speaking of Alex DeCampi, ... did you know there's a DeCampi clause in some people's contracts? A DeCampi clause, yeah. So
I have one of those.
Yeah, I do too now. I don't want to be anywhere near that woman. There's a really
she
great
has to
picture.
go to a different hotel now.
Yeah, always. Yeah, if we're hanging out, you got to stay somewhere else.
Sorry. Go to the Holiday Inn, bitch.
Yeah.
It's got to be with my book. I got to be guaranteed she's not even going to be within like a camera shot of me at any time ever. Who knows what she'll fucking do?
Well, think about that. At conventions, they didn't even want to sit at a table with her.
Right.
Because she and I, the great irony that I really soaked up from this article was that she is actually, by their standards of being like an activist who calls out the racism when she sees it, calls out the sexism, calls out this and that. She's doing her job better than they are. She is a pure SJW. They should all strive to be like her. And yet
she's a true believer.
She scares them.
But she also is a false projector. She will make shit up about people and put it out there as if it's real, and then get trolls to fucking back her up to destroy people's reputation.
Yeah. 100%. She is part of that crew. She is part of that crew, that Whisper Network, and is sort of the de facto leader of it. And I think that's really the biggest problem is it's really a take no prisoners attitude. It's a power grab. It's not. She is a true believer, I think, as far as social activism, social justice, and whatnot. Particularly when it comes to feminists, she's what one might consider a feminazi, right? Mm-hmm. But Alex has got a few projects that she's done on Kickstarter. Some of them, the funding has been canceled because it just didn't make it. Mm-hmm. I think she did one with David Bowie's son, or I can't remember who it was, but I don't know what project. It doesn't come to mind immediately what project it was that Penny was talking about. But the only thing I own in my collection, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit that she wrote, is Archie versus Predator from Dark Horse Comics. Yeah.
All right.
Just because I
didn't know she wrote it.
Freak. Yep, she did.
Yeah.
And she's written a Dracula Mother Effer that she put out with Image. I don't know how that turned out. I know it was a very feminist slant. So she's got some stuff. So about every 2 years, something comes out that Alex has done. But I mean, if you want to know more about Alex DeCampi, go to alexdecampy.com. She's got her own website. She'll tell you all about herself, and as she should. So she's got some bona fides, but I don't think nobody praises her like Rich Johnston. I'll just say that. Nobody praises her like that.
What she got on you, Rich? You can tell us.
That was the question. Yeah, that was the question. Back when the last Whisper Network came out, it was about Stephanie Cook allegedly embezzling thousands and thousands of dollars from Bill Willingham, and she was one of Alex's minions, if you will. And of course, when that happened with Stephanie Cook, I was particularly surprised to learn, and Penny shared this in the article, that while Heather McDonald from Comics Beat had done an article on a guy that had embezzled money from his comics company like 3 months before, when Bill Willingham put out a press release and filed police charges against Stephanie Cook, Heather did a one-on-one interview with Stephanie Cook like 2 months later and never even brought it up, never even mentioned it. And that's when Penny goes back and says, well, look, they're both members of this Whisper Network. I mean, obviously you have to draw your own conclusions, right? I don't necessarily need to have pornographic hidden camera video of two people having sex to be able to say, it looks to me like they might be a kind of couple that has sex, just seeing them out somewhere publicly. So I think you do have to kind of draw some conclusions, and there's some speculation in there, but I mean, how can any comic book fan these days or collector not enjoy a little speculation now and then? You know what I mean?
Right.
Can the Hulk beat the Silver Surfer? Answer, no, but it's fun to speculate, right? So Penny's got something else brewing, I think. Don't know when it'll come out. This one kind of spun up really fast. She kind of had the idea, and then what happens with Penny is she pitches the idea. We kind of go back and forth. I tell her what she needs to definitely have to cover our ass, and she gets all that she can, disappears, goes dark for another couple of weeks, and all of a sudden I get a message in the morning that says, hey, I posted it in the, it's in the queue to be edited. And I'm like, damn, right?
What's funny is that her doing this and still working the industry is actually kind of neat, because I'm sure that once people are like, it might take the second article here, it might take another 2 articles.
Yeah.
But at some point, people are going to be like, oh, hey, you know what? We better watch what we're doing, because somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a cop on the highway that just sits there. You know what I mean? Or, everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Good,
Are you Penny Parker? Right. I think that the thing that disappointed me the most about this article, I mean, I'm a Marvel fanboy, Mighty March and Marvel guy, true believer. And I mean, all I buy now is collected editions these days. I don't think I'm getting any floppies. I just don't care anymore. I'm so disappointed. And again, my age, I'm probably sort of tuning out with funny books to a degree. But the thing that disappointed me about this article was it wasn't that C.B. Sobalski said, hey, enough with this bad behavior. We're going to straighten up and fly right and treat all of our customers fairly and respectfully. No. That's not what this is about. They're not straightening up and flying right. They're just scared of one another, and it's on paper somewhere, and that's sort of what's happened. You can get a little too SJW for them. You can be a little too toxic online. That's all. Not that we're going to wind down the being toxic stuff. It's just that it's just not worth these troublemakers, these provocateurs aren't a good business model. Now, maybe the pendulum's starting to swing towards that. I don't mind a provocateur, though. I just mind people who are flat out assholes to the readers, or they're like, oh, hey, thanks for the Iron Man action figure. Watch me blow its head off. No thanks. Hey, let me show you the Hulk and the Thing having butt sex.
But until the industry isn't basically being run by mean girls, it's not going to change,
No, and I would be okay with nothing but Penny Parkers, because this person's a great creator, but I think that it's still got a ways to go. The industry still has a ways to go, and in the meantime, crowdfunding's where it's at, indie publishing's where it's at, and there's so many different ways to do this. I know there are some creators who do print on demand, which brings me to the subject you were kind of grousing about. Was it yesterday, Vaughn, about CDs that Amazon's not doing or something, or DVDs? Was that you that was grousing about that, or somebody else?
I don't remember that. No.
Okay. Well, apparently Amazon is no longer doing physical media on demand when it comes to CDs or DVDs. I think they had gotten into that business.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but they still do books. And I think Amazon will probably always do books. That's really the first book outlet I think of is, online is Amazon. That's what I know them for.
Yeah, I've heard some real issues with their digital printing on demand. And I've heard a little bit of negative about their like novel printing, but for the most part, their novel printing, I guess, is pretty effective. But from what I understand, like digital printing, like there were some people that did do some comics through them.
Yeah. Yes.
That said, never again.
Never again.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm getting at is though that I think that business model can be developed.
Yeah.
Amazon, I don't order.
The problem about printing on demand is obviously printing digital, a one-off book, especially if it's got to be like perfect bound or something like that. It's an expensive process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can't spread it across several books, it becomes like, almost the whole cost of the book. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that there would have to be a way to make it very commercially viable to do a one-off.
I totally agree, but somehow Amazon does it with books. I don't know that it's affordable or effective or quality. But the thing that I do like that I just learned about Amazon is you can also have them do fulfillment for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They will warehouse and they'll fulfill. That is true.
And I understand that they get a much better rate on shipping than you or I would.
Yes, they do, but they also fulfillment with things like books and stuff like that are thrown into a bubble wrap bag and hooked into a truck. It's not like we do. You know what I I mean? Where it's
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if there's any way.
However, the way that to utilize Amazon effectively is after you finish your crowdfunding campaign or whatever.
Yeah.
Just set up an Amazon store. And in fact, Amazon is partnering with Indiegogo. I don't know if you've seen that email that Indiegogo set out, but they're going to be doing a partnership to where it looks like somehow you'll be able to transfer your Indiegogo shopping directly and through Amazon, and then you just basically fulfill yourself. So.
Yep. Sorry, Marvel. Sorry, Image. We're just going to let Amazon ship it out and save all that money. I mean, in my mind, I feel like we are at the cusp of some real breakthroughs happening. And as long as creators like you guys and Mike and everybody else that's involved keep creating, we're going to figure out ways to do this effectively, affordably, and creatively.
Well, companies like Mixum are changing the landscape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being able to deliver a high quality comic book, and having access to do mass numbers reliably, with a fast turnaround. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's changed the game. That wasn't really available, 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, it was, but not like at this price point.
So you use Mixum, Drew?
Yeah, I do.
Who do you use, Vaughn? Or who are you using?
I use API.
API, okay. Now, did you you've done books before, haven't you, Vaughn?
I did only digital books before.
So this is your first
never
print.
Published.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Did you do a lot of research looking at like Print Ninja and
yes.
Amazon? Okay. Okay. What made you go with AP?
API seemed to I'd actually held things they had made in my hands,
Yeah.
like from people like Clint Stoker, and I'm sure I'm leaving off other people, but a lot of CGers have used them and gotten great results. Quality books. The pricing might not be as cheap as Print Ninja, but it's also printed here in the States. You should get your books faster. And I was, I had taken so long on my book. Let's get this done. But also they were very hands-on and always there by the phone, like working with me to get this done.
Okay.
To make it quality. So.
Right now we're leaning on Mixam, but it could be. I haven't really looked into API. I looked into Print Ninja, but Mixam's just got such an easy calculation tool for you to say, okay, how many pages, what kind of finish, and it'll update with the shipping and show you the turnaround time and all the finishes, the weights, and you just pick it and it's updating immediately right there on the page. And you plug in your zip code, it'll tell you what the shipping is going to be, the current shipping rates. So it's pretty neat. So I'll be very interested to hear from you soon, Vaughn, on your experience. I know I've heard others mention API, but I think I was thinking earlier, obviously I got to get this video camera worked out for StreamYard. It works great on YouTube and Zoom, but I was thinking about doing videos kind of based on our Indie Comic Showcase, where we only talk to creators who have, like Drew, who have crowdfunded and fulfilled successfly, so that you can speak with expertise. I can't speak with expertise yet because I haven't shipped my first book yet. But that
I'm on my third fulfillment.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you would be ideal for such a project. But I'd also like to talk specifically to creators who not only have fulfilled completely, but are maybe promoting their next project. That to me, that would be a win-win for everybody. Because I want to get more content out there for up-and-coming creators that maybe right now are watching this video or listening to us and thinking, man, I've got this fat fire idea for a werewolf cowboy in the Old West, but I just need an artist. And then what do I do next? And what do I do next? Because, I don't care how many crowdfunded comics there. I don't care how well Ethan Van Sciver does, or how well John Della Rose does, or Doug TenNapel does, or John Malin does, because they're not selling what I'm selling, There's just more comics out there. There's just more stuff. And if there was every week some fresh indie crowdfunded book coming out, great. That's great. That's about how many I can get read in a week. I'm so busy, right? Mm-hmm. So we can get there, and we can have it to where, I don't like werewolves. I want manga, right?
The challenge for that is, the market. I don't know if it can support a new book every week at this point, but
it depends. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's a manga type, like there's several creators that's all they work on.
If you spent more of the show focus on finding people who digest indie, who are looking for indie comics, that would be a better use, I think, of focusing your audience, because if you've ever been to you've been to conventions, most of the people there are just like fans, but they are looking. A lot of them are seeking indie stuff, something new, And so I, as somebody who's just been able to do only a handful of conventions, but because of stupid COVID, my results have been stellar considered what little I've been able to do. I can't wait until I can actually get in front of people again and be like, check out Captain Love, and I get to talk about, what I mean? It's going to blow up, but and there are other ways to get the word out, but conventions right now are the mass leader, So.
Oh, totally. I mean, I get that too, but in the meantime, we've just got to sort of grow and nurture the audience. Mm-hmm. In other words, you don't like monster westerns? How about this sci-fi sex romance? Or how about this wizard over here? Or how about this Florida man over here? I mean, you want a funny book? You want a horror book? In other words, we just need to keep pointing to these, because eventually every crowdfund comic I see, I don't want.
Man.
But I look at 2 or 3 and I'm like, okay, now that sounds good. Like Brian Christgau, He's on here a lot. I'm in. I don't know if you guys listen to many podcasts, but I listen to John Mayo's comic book page. It's been around for 15 years. It's one of the longest running comic book podcasts ever. And and he's got a Slack channel where a bunch of us that I also participate occasionally on his podcast. And somebody brought up Brian's book. They had just seen a cover art for it. And I was lucky enough, I was on the channel when somebody brought it up and said, "Oh yeah, man, that's a great book. It's a crowdfund, but you can still get it, yada, yada, yada." And they're like, "Oh really?" So there are still a massive swath of comic book fans that have never even considered a crowdfunded indie comic, and would if it's, a gunslinging gorilla, you know what I mean? Or whatever it might be, Undead X-Men or something. I mean, who knows, right? There's all these ideas.
A lot of people out there who seek indie entertainment have no idea how to even find an indie comic. And then when they do, the price point is difficult for them.
Sure, of course it is. But you have to sell it like this is boutique. This is a niche. No. This is a boutique product. We're not making 50,000 of these and shipping them to every comic shop in the land. If you're able to get your hands on this, you have a very unique, special. You're one of maybe 1,000 people or 100. Yeah.
And that right there does classify your audience in a much, a much different scale of revenue. You know what I mean?
Of course.
The people that can go to a comic book shop, drop $100 and walk out with a handful of books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are more likely. Now, if we can somehow connect the indie market to that, you know what I mean? That would be revolutionary. You know what I mean? So.
Well, we're comic dissidents.
Some rock and roll too. No, I was just going to say, you got to dab in some rock and roll while you're at it and make comics exciting and rebellious again,
Punk rock. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. You think about it and it'd be like, I've got some friends who are in a punk band. I helped them edit their documentary. It's a great band. They're called The Unsatisfied. You can watch their documentary right now on Amazon Prime if you have it. It's called Ambition Withdraw. And it's just and it was shot on SD. I didn't shoot it. I just kind of re-edited it for them. But the thing we would sit around and they would talk about all these bands, and I had never heard of any of them, not a single one, because it was all this underground stuff. But there are these waves in creativity and culture where it's cool to be punk. It's cool to be underground. That's where the quality is, and it may be a little rough around the edges. Maybe it arrives a month late.
Think about if you're underground punk, right? For instance, the guys that were like huge Black Flag fans.
Yeah.
Now think about how excited you were to see Black Flag make it into the record store.
Sure. You want that for them. And I would be delighted. You guys said something earlier about whether or not if Marvel gave you a call. I would be delighted if any of these bigger publishers such as Dark Horse or Boom or maybe not IDW, Ablaze, Aftershock or any of them picked you guys up and printed a 5-issue 10-issue limited run of your stuff. To me, that would be great because I would not suspect that you had compromised your ideals or your product. You know what I mean? I think that if you went to just go get a draftsman's position to draw the next America Chavez at Marvel, I would be like, that sucks for you because I don't want to do that. You can't go to Marvel and DC and do your own thing unless you're Brian Michael Bendis and he gets to, tear the head off Superman and create a few creatures that won't be successful in a few years. But that's fine. He's making bank. But you guys have got your own IP, right? And everybody wants that. Everybody wants to have their own IP. So you just have to basically present well, do pretty good customer service as well as you can manage, and put your very best foot forward because nobody's going to put your stuff out there any better than you will. You're probably harder on your stuff than is necessary. You're probably like, oh, gosh, that font's a little – I need to click that down one type font size, or gosh, should I do 110 paper or 100 or whatever? The reader just says, let me just give me the damn book. Is the story any good?
Yeah.
Right.
Craving that content, and figure out how to do it quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, that's the key.
I've learned so much from Monster MD, and how I'm going to do books in the future is going to cut the time in half, or maybe even faster.
Yeah.
I need streamlined creativity, but I need it to be high quality too. So I need to find that balance of speed and my best foot, like you said, man, Chris, because you do not want to put anything less than your best out, because I swear to you, you're going to be seeing your flaws, kicking yourself over it later.
Yeah.
And so it's like, make sure it's your best so you can learn from that, because there will still be flaws. I don't care what your name is.
Oh, sure.
And
especially if you're creative.
Get better for the next one. Make sure
all good creators are perfectionists that never reach perfection. You'll always go back. I guarantee you and Drew probably flip back through your stuff and go, oh man, if I could have rendered that a little more. I could have embellished that a little more.
No,
I really wish I got.
There's all kinds of stuff I would have done differently.
Of course. But that's the way artists are. I own a video production company, so I'm my own boss, and you guys are your own boss on this. So nobody's going to cancel you or fire you. So you're fireproof, really, to do it your own way. But at the same time, you're going to be a perfectionist. And at the end of the day, I remember I'm actually. I'm not that great an artist, but I have that sort of gift. There's Pops. Awesome. Good to see Pops. And I had an art instructor in college that would come over to me every now and then and say, okay, just stop drawing. It's done. Why are you continuing to needle it? You're not going to do anything else. The effort, there's like a tipping point, because honestly, I guess we could all perfect and work on these things forever. I think one of the things that we're learning with Florida Man on this crowdfund, and I'd be interested to know what's the biggest thing you've learned or the thing you're changing, because when I got involved in Florida Man, there were only 4 pages drawn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 64-page, 56-page story. Pinups and other stuff make it 64. But this next project that Mike and I are working on, it's already got 28 pages done, and you guys have never even heard of it. So going into it already done. And the other thing I would advise you, if you're collaborating with anybody, instead of just doing any for-hire work, if you're doing for-hire work, have a written agreement. If you're doing a collaboration, have a written agreement. That's all I can say, guys. Double. Please, yes. And it's going to be longer if it's a collaboration agreement, because, guys, I'm gonna say this. I don't know if Mike's watching, but I truly feel like God placed me on this Florida Man project simply to be a firewall for Mike Barron. That's all I can say about that, because at the end of the day, I wasn't attached to it. My name's in the credits at the end. It's Mike Barron, and I think I don't know if you guys backed it. I hope you did. If you didn't, maybe you can pick it up digitally later or whatever. You don't even need to say whether or not you did. But I hope that when it comes out, and it does have 4 artists. One artist that nobody knows about, I'll share this with you guys. I'm probably not supposed to say this, but have you guys ever heard of Val Merrick? Drew a lot of Conan for Marvel back in the day. Val did some of the interior work for us also. We've got nice. It's crazy. When I say D Hands, which is funny because Rob Liefeld mentioned D Hands as one of the credits in some of the old Marvel comics when everybody just kind of started drawing and inking to get the book done on time. We have got our initial artist was a white guy from Boston. The pickup artist was a Portuguese guy, a Brazilian guy. Our colorist is an Indonesian. Our letterer is a proud Black American. And then there's me and Mike. So, I mean, we're pretty darn diverse. We wanted a female colorist. She works for Dynamite. I don't want to say who it is, but she just wound up getting super busy mid-pandemic. And I'm glad we got Ixan to do it because I think his colors are beautiful. But
wonderful.
It's a very diverse group, and it was all hands on deck the last couple of months. So I don't mean to bogart our time talking about Florida Man, but we closed the
Florida Man is a story unto itself, and that is something else. That whole
Mike's writing a book
about
it. Believe me, he's writing a book about it. It's crazy, man. And we've got the screenshots to prove it. It's crazy. So ugly. It's really ugly, but I don't want that to taint the book. It is unfortunate. It's sad, really, because nobody went into it thinking it was going to work out the way that it did. But at the end of the day, it was good because, if you know anything about Mike Barron's history, he did a lot of, the Florida Man Lunchbox is the fire, man. Mike worked with Steve Rude. And I'm not the first person to tell you that Steve is, unbalanced. Let's just say that. Super creative, super talented. I mean, my gosh, brilliant artist, but also a little unbalanced. But him and Mike go way, way back. I mean, close personal friends, created nexus. I mean, they've got a history. But Mike's not going to suffer a fool that tries the Steve Rude routine that he doesn't know. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we got. And I know that all artists are a little bit lunatic a little bit because you see things a little differently, or you're trying to imagine and create in your own mind these realities for your creations. But sometimes things go a little far, and make sure you have a contract. I'll leave it at that.
Yep. Damn right.
Yeah, and another note is not all contracts are enforceable. Sometimes if you have a contract with somebody overseas, it is not enforceable.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yes.
That's true.
That's a good point. But I would like to see, as far as your recourse would only be monetarily in most contracts. So what would suck would be someone overseas being protected and just taking your IP and doing whatever they want with it.
Oof.
Yeah. That's always an issue.
Sure.
It really, really is.
But you just protect yourself as well as you can. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't tell you that every time you get in your car and get on the freeway that you're not going to have an accident, right? Things happen, shit happens, and you just keep going and you do your best. I see Simon's in the chat. Simon, I'll also reveal this. We're using one of Simon's drawings in Florida Man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thanks, Simon.
I'm glad you guys are really it's so many different hands. Hands are coming together to get Florida Man in hands. I mean, that's kind of a miracle. And
if you think about the Florida Man theme, though, I mean, it has to be a hot mess, right? I mean, if it's Florida Man, it's got to be a hot mess. Almost criminal. So, I mean, it's fun. It's crazy. The book is nuts. It literally is nuts. And there's little hidden things that I can't tell you about that you may go, where did this go sideways? And then you'll flip back and you go, there it is. I just saw what happened. And it'll be your little secret too. So there's little things that Mike is brilliant. He really is. And he's just turned in the third novel. There's artwork from one of our new artists of Florida Man riding a catfish. The next one's Hogzilla. We've got Pat Broderick, who did the Micronauts and a bunch of Marvel stuff back in the Bronze Age, did the cover for Hogzilla, which has got Gary Duba, the Florida Man, riding a giant 1,000-pound feral hog. And of course, this one, Florida Man, he's riding a gator. So it's kind of a theme on invasive species. Let's just say that.
That's brilliant.
It's fun. Mike is a sharp guy, and he's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to going out and actually meeting him in person for the autograph session that'll come up at the end of the month, and we'll take some pics and talk about it. You
reminded me, I actually have to send that guy Mike a Monster MD.
Ah, very good. Yeah.
We're trading books. I got to send him. I'm going to do that soon. Actually, now I need to get him his book.
Yeah, write it down.
He already sent me an awesome book by him, which was an honor, man. By the way. That was so cool. So I'm getting the trade books with someone like Mike Barron is that's a dream. I need to get him his book.
Who would have ever thought that, man? That is such a treat to meet, talk with. I think Twitter and social media kind of broke down a lot of those barriers that were there before. Mm-hmm. And now you're creating and you're doing great work. I mean, it's beautiful what I've seen. So,
thank you.
What's not to like? Everyone that appreciates art and comics, it's not a struggle session. It's, everybody's not sucking each other off, but it's like, hey, it's a mutual appreciation club, right?
Right.
Hey, man, I dig that. I dig what you're doing. That's cool. Let's work on a project together.
Which can be like all the pat on the back you need to keep going sometimes, because this is not like just for the glamour. This is not. And while it is fun, it's also a drudging experience. I mean, it takes a long time and a lot of work and a lot of people coming together to make a comic book at all, let alone a really good one. I mean,
and who knew how much work went into these things? Who knew? Yeah. Good gosh, I never did. Drew, why do you do what you do? Why are you doing comics, Drew? Why are you doing this?
Because I got stories inside me.
There you go.
I've been a writer my whole life. You know what I mean? And I basically spent all my energies after my music career, kind of like you age out of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I basically spent the rest of my you could say domesticated life trying to make other people successful, and I did. I made a lot of companies very successful and very rich, but I didn't have any of my own product. So I needed my own products so that I could start building up something, so that when I'm an old man and I can't lift a pencil anymore, or I can't type anymore, or I'm blind because I can't see, or I'm deaf, you know what I mean? Yeah. That there's I've put enough product out there that it'll keep me alive. Yeah. You know? So
dude, that's
you'll just live off the books, make a house out of the books.
Books, whatever.
Burn the books for warmth.
Books, film.
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I like to think that if I, as I get old, that I'll just if I'm even bedridden, that I'm going to keep writing. I just want to keep writing as much as I can. Yeah. Before I'm done. Get it out.
I write something every day, whether it be, like an outline for a new concept, or actually writing a storyline for one of the books. Because I have 2 series in works now. I have the Captain Love and I have the Heartless series. And then I also write music still, you know what I mean? So, I've been working on some stuff. So it's like, I'm writing something every day, sometimes a couple of somethings, so.
Dude, that's one of the things Mike Barron says, write every day. Just keep writing. Yep. You just get better and better. You're constantly perfecting your craft.
True.
You try to reach mastery. That's what you're after, is mastery of your craft. And
well, I can't draw, so.
Now, Vaughn, are you writing and drawing? Who's your artist?
Monica McCagney from Italy.
She is fire, man. Golly.
I don't know how to describe it other than just perfect for what I wanted from Monster MD, but just for how I like my comics too. So I mean, it's just you
guys have both aced it. You guys have found some good artists for your work. Yeah, what a boon to find somebody whose work you really like and can tell the story. Yeah,
I lucked out big time, man. I really did. And I had actually worked on Monster MD years ago with a different artist at first, and did a real kind of grimy indie version, and I liked it that way. I liked it that way. I didn't care. I was just putting it online for people to enjoy for free back then. And that artist didn't turn in the last pages, screwed me over, and it felt terrible, man. I was like, this is a really cool book. Like, this is a cool idea. Like, I don't even get to finish this because this guy decided to be a dick, whatever. And so I was like, well, if Monica signs on, then I'll definitely start over from scratch and do the whole book over, because it'll be, worthy of this cool idea. And so, we ended up doing the whole thing again.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now,
except the first book was like 70-something pages, and this last one was like 120-something.
Same story?
Same story, but I beefed it up and polished it over 1 million times, since the last one I made with the old artist. Because I had a great opportunity to make this better, than the first time around. So.
Yes. And sometimes I mentioned earlier that I have a video production company. I used to work for the CBS affiliate 15 years ago here in the marketing department. And I had a boss who was, he was strict. He was a bit of a taskmaster. And every time I thought I had finished this, polished this promo, I thought, oh man, this looks good. I'm proud of this. And he would come in and, okay, this, fix this. And I'd be like, are you effing kidding me? I mean, but I will say this, every single time he had a higher expectation for more, he got more out of me. He got better out of me, and it was a better product because I went back and gave it and took another pass at it. So that improving, it's that polish. It really, really is. When I was in the Navy, the guys who had the shiniest shoes were the ones that worked them the longest. That's all there is to it. Elbow grease. Drew, how'd you hook up with your artist?
He actually looked so I'm actually on a new artist. The artist that was Captain Love, the first book and chapter 1, chapter 2. He found me on LinkedIn, and he was actually the third artist that Captain Love had worked with. The first artist got halfway through the first book and then pissed out because he had drug problems. I hired another artist to come in, and he never delivered anything except a couple of pencils, and basically ate a big deposit, and so I'm never doing another deposit again. And then the artist I have now has he did the cover of chapter 2, and I've been working with him to get the exact right feel, so it doesn't feel like Captain Love is like a different character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
And he's doing a great job. I mean, he like anybody else, real life is like he had to change where he was living and that kind of stuff. So it really dropped production behind.
Sure.
But he's doing. I mean, he's. I mean, you guys have seen the cover of Captain Love chapter 2. I mean, it's he's got mad skill. And I really like his storytelling style.
Yeah.
It's not going to feel different. That's the beautiful thing, because he's respecting all the universe established things. So in many ways, it's actually going to be better quality comic books.
Of course it is.
Better quality art in many ways. That there's going to be a little bit of, like, if you were like a hardcore, like if you loved the fact that it had that authentic heavy metal, loose European style to the art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're probably going to miss some of that. You know what I mean? Because some of that does carry over, but I mean, I don't have a European artist anymore, so you know what I mean. So some of that's going to be gone. But,
of course, yeah.
But I mean, it's going to be made up for in tighter art that's more consistent. Also.
Yeah. Good. Well, I know it's something you're going to be proud of, and you're always going to. I remember reading X-Men back in the Copper Age, and John Romita Jr. came on board, and I have come to like John Romita Jr. less and less as time goes by. But I just remember when John Byrne went off of it and John Romita came on, I kind of was like, I kept reading because I loved the characters, and Chris Claremont was still writing. So, I mean, the story was great, but you can't help people how they respond to art, right? So even in our situation where they were like, oh, I was hoping your first artist was going to finish everything. I'm not really digging the new art. And I'm like, okay, well, do you need a refund because you don't want it anymore? And so, that was one of our refunds over the art. We've had 2 of those since we shifted with new artists, but I get
those were your old artist grandparents or something.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know who they were. I didn't
I'm just
ask.
Kidding.
Hey, is this you?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know who they were, and I don't care because I do appreciate if you don't like Bill Sienkiewicz and you wish we'd go back to John Byrne. I get it. I mean, I totally get it. I don't like that art style either for this. So whatever. I don't want you to take something out of the store I don't want you to have to pay for something you haven't even had in your hands yet. And I do appreciate the art change, but hey, John Byrne can do something great, and so can Jim Lee, and I'm not going to worry about it. If it's a good art and the creator, the writer is pleased with it, hey, I'm down with it. Let's just tell this story. Let's get on with it.
Well, and then there's so many other things to consider as well, because like you were saying, how illustrators are kind of funny. Sometimes sometimes an illustrator can not give you what you were asking for. Over and over
believe
and
me.
over
Yeah.
And that's a problem. I mean, especially if you're paying them. You know what I mean? It's like, no, dude, this is a job. You got to do what I'm trying. You know what I mean? It's like I want you to be passionate about it. I want you to put yourself into it. But this is a job. You know what I mean? It's like I'm paying you.
Well, and even in a collaborative thing where you're kind of sharing the rewards of it. If somebody says, "Hey, I get that you can't pay me. Let's go in on this thing." That's a marriage, right? And sometimes marriages don't work out, and you shouldn't have to be stuck with this thing before the baby's even been born. Yeah.
In a collaborative environment, everybody's got to respect their position and stick to it. Yeah. And that's that. I mean, but in those situations, there's too many variations. Like, I mean, those like need an arbitrator to decide what the fuck. But
or a lawyer, yeah, right.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so, but what I'm talking about is just finding an artist that you can work with. Now I'm content right now because I believe that my fans are going to get better artwork. You know what I mean? Yes. And they're going to get like Michael Beacon here. He's worked with my artist, so he knows who I'm talking about. Henry is the new artist, and
Henry Martinez.
No. This Henry is not really well known. He works at a couple of projects in this small community. And anyway, so he is doing a good job. At first I was worried because he had all the skill sets, to do what I mean, and his style looks a lot like the style that was pre-existing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's obviously little nuance differences and stuff like that, but I think overall it's going to be a better thing. And the artwork that's going to be coming out is going to be overall better. You know what I mean? And
that's great, man. You're moving up.
So it's one of those things where it's really a hard transition. It really is. You know what I mean? But the end game, you know what I mean, is going to be so much worth it for everybody involved. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I mean, what's awesome is that you're not like, well, I give up. I can't do this. This is failed. You are still doing it, and you just got to move on, and you're not tied down to one particular artist. I mean, other artists can tell this story.
Well, I had to. I had to. The existing artist and I ended up butting heads too many times because he was the first artist because he was being inconsistent. He was not. I mean, like I would have to tell him that you can't just change the way things are structured. You know what I mean? It's like you can't one day have a roof there and the next day have it be see-through. You know what I mean? And he would stick me with stuff like that, and then he wouldn't fix it. I pointed out and I say, "Look, this is a problem," and he wouldn't fix it.
What do you suppose gets into someone like that? That you're the creator and it's your baby, and you say do this, and they say no. Where does that come from?
Do?
Yeah. That comes from a sense of entitlement, like you know what I mean. Some people would say that they're being a diva. I would say that they don't have a real sense of how the real world works. You know what I mean? Because if it's a situation where you're the illustrator, but you're hired to do it, like if you're working for Marvel or whatever. Right, it would say right in your contract that you're gonna make whatever changes they say that you're gonna make. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like it's your contract. You want to get paid and not sued. You know what I mean? You're gonna do what you're supposed to do.
I think it's just lack of respect.
Well, that's what it comes down to. It. Yeah. Whatever the inspiration, whatever the motivation, it's disrespectful.
Yeah,
it's disrespectful, and we dealt with that on our project. We had the guy say, "I'm not effing drawing that, and you don't tell me how to draw these people, and don't ever effing think you can." And I'm like, "Are you effing kidding me? Did you just say that to this 2-time Eisner Award winner that didn't even have to piss on you? Giving you the shot of a lifetime? Are you serious?"
Chris, you and I need to do a stream just talking about this too, because
let's get the book out. We'll get the book out. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what matters, and that's the thing. We didn't want to say anything publicly whatsoever.
You guys were nice guys about it.
Oh, dude, you wouldn't believe the remaining agreement that person still has. I mean, if we succeed, he still gets a nice cut. There's no doubt about it, because of the agreement that we had done. But the thing, at the end of the day, the readers don't give two shits about that. They don't care about that drama. I mean, you have a few that like to get in the weeds, that, all the inside baseball type stuff, but they just want the comic, man. They don't.
And that's what they deserve.
I don't care if you got COVID. I don't care if you're getting divorced. I don't care if you lost your real job. Where's my book?
And here's the thing that illustrators really need to be aware of. Like in the community, the little online tight-knit community of indie creators, illustrators are rock stars. At a convention, an illustrator is a rock star if they are working on something really big, and you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But at the same time, they come and go. Like they're and there's a lot of people that have done Superman. You know what I mean? But right, the guy that invented Superman. You know what I mean? Like, he's a hero. Right? Okay, so like when you think of Spider-Man, do you think of the illustrators or do you think of Stan Lee?
Right. Well, I do sometimes think of Todd McFarlane. I have to admit.
I love his Spider-Man.
Sure. Yeah, sure. But I do get your point. I totally take your point. Totally. Yeah.
So it's really I'm just saying that it's the creators of the thing, and sometimes at some point, if it gets so big, it's just the thing.
Yeah. But I don't know necessarily that. I mean, obviously, you should be prepared for that sort of success, but you're just wanting to tell good stories, man. I know you, and I know you guys I got to get this story out. I don't care if it's a massive MCU universe. And
I would prefer that it wasn't. It can be after I'm dead.
Okay.
But I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with it. I'd like to make enough money to where I don't have to worry about money anymore, and then leave it at that. I'm good at that point. That would be like all I need. Anything else like that, I would just want to spend to make more money so I could give other people jobs and stuff, and then I wouldn't want the headache of having to manage that. So, I
thought this out. I'm proud of you. That's good. Yeah, that's good. I mean, obviously, you would want anything you create, if it turned into not necessarily a cash cow, but could put food on other people's tables too, that do the work for you. I mean, that's
actually one of my goals in life is
good
to have enough going on to where I can put people to work. You know what I mean? So
wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never be a millionaire because
don't say that, and then you never will.
Yeah,
you might.
For it, man.
Yeah, you might.
The reason why I won't be is because I won't pay myself that much.
Okay.
You
could be worth that much.
Well, no, I could be worth that much because the company I own is worth that much. But you know what I mean. But I'm not going to have that much in the bank. I mean, if I do, it would be like a retirement fund kind of thing.
You
but you know what I mean. But the whole thing would be to always use the money to make more properties, to make more music, to get more stuff out there. You know what I mean? And to put more people to work.
You're just reinvesting. You're just reinvesting back into the product, the project.
Yeah, exactly. But not just that. I mean, think about things like conventions, right? People don't realize, you can hire people to go to the conventions and work on your behalf. Sure. You know what I mean? And
capitalist here.
You can hit multiple conventions at once that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. So because
but they want you, man. They don't want your lackeys.
Well, no. They want they want the story. They want access to the story. They want access to stuff they can't get in the store. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they want me, but I'm not anything big. Now, if I was super huge and big, then I would be. But I still would have people working the convention tables, and then I would just come for the spotlight shit.
There you go. I mean? Steranko it. I got you.
So, but it's not just that, right? So also I write films and I have ambitions of being a filmmaker.
Okay.
And putting people to work on films. Mm-hmm. People who are hard to employ can hold a microphone and make a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot, and then here's the thing. I have this philosophy where I want to build an industry that I can train people to do what I'm doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm. And so it becomes like a mentorship kind of thing to where I'm helping people to reach, the best that they can. And then they're going to train people to replace them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so forth and so forth and so forth forever. That is my dream. That is, no matter what it is I'm pursuing, that is the focus end goal for me. So
I want to work with the baddest ass artists, and I want them to want my stories and their art together and make some powerful stuff, like just that gives me a thrill. It's a rush part of the job.
And that's cool to think about that kind of an idea. If an artist that you admire, that maybe you've got some of his or her books in your collection, came up and said, man, I want us to do a book together.
Yeah. Whoa.
What a moment. And on the other hand, Drew, go for making the $1 million, because with $1 million, you can do all that stuff. You can make sure you've got somebody at the other convention. You can make sure you've got the stock. You can make sure you've got people working for you and not worrying about, making ends meet. So go for it. I mean, you never get anywhere if you don't know where you want to get.
Yeah, I mean, as far as my focus, it's not about getting rich. It's about.
I know what you mean. Sure.
Exactly.
But it's a means, right? Money is not the goal; it's the means.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
To do what you love. There it is.
Yes, guys. Well, listen, guys, I can't stay on much longer, but the next time Penny busts another thing out, I'll definitely let you know. I think I sent you a message, didn't I, Drew, that this was coming up? Yeah. Okay. Good.
That's how we got this thing. I was like, you let me know. I'm like, oh well, then we have to get you on. And you're like, you better read it first.
I mean, we do 5 or 6 stories a day, but a lot of it's press releases or just news that you get anywhere. But when these things come out, I want sort of the insiders to hear about it, to know about it, just to kind of plan on setting 10 minutes or something out of their day, or while they're on the crapper, to whip out the phone and read it.
Dude, these are good. They're so good the other side's reading them, and they're so good the other side's DDoS attacking you over them. So keep up the good work.
That is a good thing. I think you're right. I think that we've been doing it now since October 17 when we launched the website. And the only reason the website launched was Rich. I got blocked on that on the comment section. I won't get into that now, but I said, you know what? It doesn't take that much to go register a domain and start a website. If that's what I have to do to let people that think you don't need to tell me how diverse your comic book is, just put X-Men 94 on the shelves, and if it's any good, I don't care what color everybody is, right? That was basically what my comment that got me shadow banned off Bleeding Cool. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to, Bleeding Cool, it's been my nickname for Bleeding Cool forever. I'm just going to do that, and we're going to come at things from the other perspective.
I want to say something that will just kind of flip the script on all these SJWs.
Yeah.
All right? The thing is if you're focused on the color of the skin of the person who wrote the book, or their sexual gender, or if you're focused on that, right, then you're the person that has the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's precisely it.
Because forever, it's not like if the industry has only been white males, right. You know what I mean? Or any industry. Or anything, and it's like you go and talk to these guys who you call alt-right, male toxic, whatever. You go talk to them, and you'll find so many things. They're huge fans of Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah. The battle's already been won. I mean, there is no battle anymore. Exactly. Whatever you're fighting, you're like those Japanese guys that were on a desert island still thinking that they were fighting in the World War, and it had been over forever.
Exactly.
The battle's over, but the media still continues, or
it doesn't change. It doesn't change that men had a head start.
Yeah. Well, of course.
And it doesn't change the fact that the tactics that you're using now are going to backfire so viciously.
Sure.
In the long run, that it's going to hurt people who are trying to make a difference with their activism. But the thing is somebody's going to come across a little bit activist in any direction at all, and they're going to be shunned because of all the fear.
Yeah, I hope so. And that's the point of this the moral of this story with Penny is that's what we're hoping happens, is that you just saying, hey, I'm an activist for this and this, and they're going to say, okay, let me see your portfolio. I really don't care that, what your pet causes are, because we care about merit here. We like to promote people who are good, not just who you know. And I think that we don't want a creative endeavors to all be based on participation trophies. I mean, you guys know this. I'm not telling you guys anything that is news to you. And I think that we're starting to get there. I think we're slowly starting to get there. But, you know, what's the point in waiting around for Marvel and DC to get their heads out of their asses? Let's just make our own stuff, and eventually people will come around. Maybe what you're doing now won't make you that $1 million, won't get you that sweet gig that you want, but 10 years from now, there may be creators that go back and say, man, if those guys hadn't done all that crowdfunding, I don't know how this industry would have survived.
Yeah, well, 10 years from now, there's going to be so much fucking Captain Love on the market.
Bam! Mic
So
drop.
much love.
There you go.
Much love.
Well, guys,
peace
love what
out,
you're
guys.
doing. Yeah, love what you're doing. Appreciate the time. Good talking to you guys. Let's do it again.
Chris, great talking to you. Great.
And everybody, if you're not back in Florida, man, you know, search that shit. Get yourself.
Yeah, 1 week left. One week left. You can get there directly if you go to Florida Man Comics. Plural, FloridaManComics.com. He's got a neat website. You can get some swag there. If you don't even want the book, you can get you a beach copper tone parody beach towel or something, you know. And our original artist gets a little piece of that. So make up your mind whether or not you want to get that. Just kidding. Please get it. It's fun. FloridaManComics.com. We are shutting down the In Demand on Monday at midnight. Thanks, fellas.
Very nice.
Appreciate y'all.
And also, don't forget to get yourself some Monster MD. Just search that stuff out. It's on Indiegogo. It's still in demand, right? So
sure is.
Yeah. So get some of that while
hey, when are you stopping your In Demand, Vaughn?
Probably as I'm getting closer to finishing up fulfillment.
Okay, because you're over ordering, I take it.
Oh yes,
I need to see if I've backed that yet. If not, I'll rectify that in the next 24.
Appreciate you.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Man.
All right,
Take
everybody,
care now.
Thanks for coming out for the show, and we will see you next week.